Listen, this establishment caters to exclusive clientele, people with actual money. The words echoed across the marble lobby as hotel manager Victoria, Sterling gestured dismissively at the well-dressed black man before her. That suit might fool some people, but we know quality. Behind him, a white couple approached, and Victoria's face transformed into a bright smile. What she didn't know: the man she was humiliating owned every inch of the building she stood in. The next 10 minutes would cost her everything. Rebecca Martinez saw the black man approaching her marble desk. She immediately closed her laptop with a loud snap and shoved the service temporarily unavailable sign in front of him. Her eyes swept him up and down like he was dirt on her shoe. "Could I see a room service menu?" Marcus Davidson asked politely. Rebecca rolled her eyes dramatically, leaned back with arms crossed. "Listen, this establishment caters to exclusive clientele, people with actual money." She gestured dismissively at his suit. "That might fool some people, but we know quality." Behind him, a white couple approached. Rebecca jumped up with a bright smile. "How can I help you today?" The humiliation was intentional, public, calculated. Marcus's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed steady. "I see." He reached into his leather briefcase and pulled out something that would change everything. "Have you ever been completely underestimated?" What happened next exposed the most shocking twist imaginable. 10 minutes until the quarterly board meeting. Marcus checked his phone, then looked back at Rebecca with that same calm expression. "Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding here." Rebecca picked up her desk phone and pressed a button. "Christopher, I need you at the front desk. We have a situation." Within seconds, Assistant Manager Christopher Reynolds emerged from the back office. Mid-30s, perfectly pressed uniform, the kind of smug confidence that came from never being challenged. His eyes locked onto Marcus immediately. "What seems to be the problem?" Christopher's tone was all business, but his body language spoke volumes. Arms crossed, blocking Marcus's path to the elevators. "This gentleman seems confused about our establishment," Rebecca said, not bothering to lower her voice. "I've explained our standards, but he's being persistent." Christopher nodded knowingly. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step aside. You're creating a disturbance for our actual guests." Actual guests. The words hit like a slap. But across the lobby, something interesting was happening. A young black woman named Jasmine Turner, maybe 22, was setting up her phone on a nearby coffee table. Journalism student, always had her phone ready. She'd been watching the entire exchange. "Y'all," she whispered into her phone's camera, "are you seeing this discrimination happening right now at this fancy hotel?" The live stream title appeared. Racist hotel staff exposed. Viewer count: 23. 156. 847 people watching. Meanwhile, Christopher was stepping closer to Marcus, invading his personal space. "Sir, I need to see identification and proof that you can afford our services before we can continue this conversation." "Proof of what exactly?" Marcus's voice remained level, but something flickered behind his eyes. "Proof of adequate funds. This is standard procedure for certain situations." Certain situations. Everyone knew what that meant. The comments on Jasmine's stream were exploding. "This is insane in 2025. Get their names. Call the police on them. Black excellence being disrespected." Viewer count climbing. 1,234. 2,156. 3,891. From across the marble lobby, Daniel Foster watched the scene unfold. 50-something, head of hotel security, 25 years on the job. He'd seen this movie before. Usually it ended with someone getting escorted out, someone's dignity trampled, someone's day ruined. But there was something different about this man. The way he stood, the quality of that briefcase. Daniel's trained eye caught details others missed. Marcus slowly reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card holder. Expensive leather, real gold trim. As he opened it, a first-class boarding pass fell to the marble floor. Christopher bent to pick it up, probably planning to use it as ammunition. Instead, his face went pale. The boarding pass read, Davidson Marcus. First class. Destination. Board meeting NYC. Priority guest. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was the airline logo. Grand View Hospitality Group Corporate Fleet. Daniel stepped closer, his security training kicking in. He recognized that logo. Every employee should recognize that logo. 8 minutes until the meeting, Marcus said quietly, checking his phone again. I'd like to resolve this quickly. Christopher was still staring at the boarding pass. Sir, this says it says. Exactly what you think it says. Marcus's voice carried a new edge. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Jasmine's stream hit 5,200 viewers. She was practically vibrating with excitement, but keeping her voice low. Something big is about to happen, y'all. This man isn't just some random guest. The chat was going wild. He's got a corporate boarding pass. Plot twist incoming. This hotel is about to get owned. From behind the marble pillar, other guests were starting to notice. Phones coming out. The kind of crowd that forms when something interesting is happening. Rebecca was getting nervous. Christopher, just handle this. Get him out of here. But Christopher was reading the boarding pass again and again. The corporate logo was unmistakable. His hands were actually shaking now. Sir, Christopher's voice cracked slightly. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. No. Marcus's response was firm. This conversation is exactly where it needs to be, public, witnessed, documented. He gestured toward Jasmine's phone, which was clearly recording everything, then toward the other guests who were now openly staring and filming. 7 minutes, Marcus said, checking his phone one more time. I suggest you make them count. Daniel caught Marcus's eye and gave an almost imperceptible nod, a sign of respect between professionals. He'd figured it out. But Rebecca and Christopher were still digging their hole deeper. I don't care what that boarding pass says, Rebecca announced loudly. Company policy is company policy. We have standards to maintain. The irony was lost on her completely. Jasmine's viewer count hit 8,000. Local news producer Carmen Rodriguez was now in the comments. Demanding you now. We need this story. The momentum was building. The witnesses were multiplying. And somewhere in corporate headquarters, phones were probably starting to ring. But the real shock was still coming. Marcus looked at his phone one final time. 6 minutes. Then he looked at Christopher with something that might have been pity. You have no idea who you're talking to, do you? The marble lobby of the Grand View Palace Hotel had transformed into an arena. What started as a simple request for room service had become a public spectacle that would soon make national headlines. 5 minutes until the board meeting. That's when General Manager Victoria Sterling emerged from the executive elevator. 55 years old, steel gray hair pulled into a severe bun, power suit that screamed authority. She moved with the confidence of someone who'd never been challenged, never been wrong, never been held accountable. Her heels clicked against marble like gunshots as she approached the growing crowd. What is the meaning of this disturbance? Victoria's voice could freeze water. Her eyes swept over the scene. Christopher holding a boarding pass with shaking hands, Rebecca wringing her fingers, and at the center of it all, one calm black man who seemed completely unbothered by the chaos surrounding him. Ma'am, Christopher stammered, this gentleman has a corporate boarding pass, but, nothing. Victoria's tone cut through his explanation. I don't care if he has the president's boarding pass. This is about maintaining standards. Our reputation depends on the caliber of our clientele. She turned to face Marcus directly, looking him up and down like she was examining livestock. Sir, I'm going to need you to provide immediate proof of your ability to afford our services, or I'll have security escort you from the premises. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Jasmine's phone was capturing every moment. Her viewer count had exploded past 12,000, and the comments were a blur of outrage. This is 2025, and this is still happening. Get her name tag. Someone call corporate. This man is about to destroy them. I can't believe this is real. But it was very real. And it was about to get much worse. Victoria raised her voice, ensuring everyone in the lobby could hear. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for this disruption. We're handling a situation with someone who seems confused about our establishment. The humiliation was intentional, designed to make Marcus leave quietly, tail between his legs, dignity shattered. Instead, he smiled. Ms. Sterling, Marcus said, reading her name tag. You're absolutely right about maintaining standards. The question is, whose standards are we talking about? Something in his tone made Victoria pause. There was an authority there that didn't match her assumptions, but she'd come too far to back down now. Security. Victoria called out sharply. Daniel Foster approached reluctantly, his radio crackling to life. Behind him came Ryan Chin, a newer security guard who hadn't learned to read situations yet. Ryan's hand was already moving toward his radio, ready to call backup. "Remove this individual from the premises," Victoria ordered. "He's trespassing." "Ma'am," Daniel said carefully, "perhaps we should." "I don't want to hear it, Daniel. Do your job." The crowd was growing. Hotel guests had gathered in a circle, phones recording from every angle. Jasmine had positioned herself for the perfect shot, her stream now approaching 15,000 viewers. Local news was taking notice. Carmen Rodriguez from Channel 7 was already en route with a camera crew. On social media, hashtags were starting to trend. Hashtag Grandview Discrimination, hashtag Hotel Racism, hashtag Justice for Marcus. But none of them knew Marcus's last name yet. None of them knew what was really happening. "For minutes," Marcus said quietly, checking his phone. Victoria's patience snapped. "For minutes until what?" "Your ride to the homeless shelter." The crowd gasped. Even for Victoria, that was too far. Ryan Chin stepped forward, trying to assert authority. "Sir, you need to come with us now." But Daniel held up a hand. Wait. Something was bothering him. The boarding pass, the corporate logo, the way this man carried himself. 25 years in security had taught Daniel to trust his instincts, and every instinct was screaming that this was about to go very, very wrong for Victoria Sterling. "Ma'am," Daniel said quietly, "I think we should reconsider." "I think you should do your job," Victoria snapped back. The tension in the lobby was suffocating. Other hotel guests were backing away, but their phones stayed trained on the unfolding drama. Some were calling friends, describing the scene in real time. Others were posting to social media, adding fuel to the growing fire. A group of businesswomen near the elevator shook their heads in disgust. "This is exactly why we need better corporate training," one whispered loud enough for others to hear. "Absolutely shameful," another added. "In today's world, this kind of behavior is unacceptable." Their comments were being picked up by nearby phones, broadcast to thousands of viewers who were equally outraged. Rebecca was starting to panic. She could see her career imploding in real time. "Victoria, maybe we should listen to what he has to say." "Don't you dare back down now," Victoria hissed. "If we show weakness, every person will think they can demand service here." Every person. The coded language wasn't lost on anyone. That's when Marcus made his move. He opened his leather briefcase completely, revealing not just the boarding pass, but business cards, documents, and a slim black portfolio with gold lettering. Victoria caught a glimpse of the words Board of Directors, before Marcus closed it again. "Excuse me," she said, suddenly uncertain. "What did that say?" 3 minutes, Marcus replied calmly. Jasmine was practically bouncing with excitement. "Y'all, something major is about to happen. This man has some serious credentials." The live stream chat was moving so fast it was unreadable. Board of Directors. Plot twist incoming. This hotel is done. Someone screen capped that portfolio. This is about to be legendary. Meanwhile, additional hotel staff had gathered at the edges of the scene. Housekeeping supervisor Elena Santos whispered to her colleague, "This doesn't feel right. That man, he carries himself like management." Night auditor Kevin Williams nodded grimly. "I've seen enough executives come through here. Something about him is different." Their quiet observations were adding to the growing sense that Victoria was making a catastrophic mistake. Victoria's confidence was cracking. "Sir, I demand to know who you are." Marcus looked at her with something that might have been pity. "Ms. Sterling, you had the opportunity to find out through basic human decency. Instead, you chose this path." He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "Who are you calling?" Victoria demanded, her voice rising an octave. "Corporate headquarters," Marcus said simply. The phone rang once, twice, then a professional voice answered loud enough for everyone to hear. "Grand View Hospitality Group Legal Department. Sarah Chin speaking." Victoria's face went white. Christopher stumbled backward. Rebecca actually gasped out loud. "Sarah, this is Marcus Davidson. I'm currently at the Grand View Palace Hotel experiencing what can only be described as systematic discrimination based on race." "Mr. Davidson." Sarah's voice carried immediate concern and unmistakable respect. "Sir, are you in immediate danger? Should I dispatch security?" The way she said his name, like she knew exactly who he was. "No need for additional security. What I need is the crisis management team mobilized immediately. We have a situation that requires immediate corporate intervention." Victoria was staring at the phone like it was a bomb about to explode. "Sir," Sarah continued, "I'm immediately escalating this to executive leadership. Are there witnesses? Marcus looked around at the crowd of phone cameras and Jasmine's live stream. About 20,000 witnesses and counting. 20,000? Sarah's voice cracked. Sir, I'm sending the full crisis team to your location immediately. Jasmine's viewer count had indeed hit 20,000, with comments flooding in faster than anyone could read. Corporate knows him. The respect in her voice. Victoria is dead. This is better than Netflix. 2 minutes, Marcus said, checking his watch. Victoria finally found her voice. Mr. Davidson, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. No misunderstanding. Marcus replied calmly. This was intentional discrimination, witnessed by thousands, documented in real time, and about to become very expensive for Grandview Hospitality Group. Daniel was backing away slowly, recognizing the disaster unfolding before him. Ryan Chen was still confused, hand hovering over his radio, finally understanding that whatever was happening was way above his pay grade. Christopher was frantically Googling Marcus Davidson Grandview on his phone. His face went from pale to green. Jasmine's viewer count hit 22,000. The comments were a tsunami of shock and excitement. He's calling corporate legal. This hotel is about to get destroyed. Plot twist of the century. Victoria is about to lose her job. Someone find out who he is. But the biggest shock was still coming. Marcus looked at Victoria with calm authority. Ms. Sterling, you have exactly 1 minute to decide how you want this story to end. The entire lobby held its breath. Outside, news vans were pulling into the parking lot. Social media was exploding with real-time updates. And somewhere in corporate headquarters, emergency meetings were being called. But Victoria Sterling still didn't understand what was really happening. She was about to find out. 1 minute until the board meeting. The silence in the Grandview Palace Hotel lobby was deafening. 22,000 people watching live. News crews setting up outside. Victoria Sterling's career hanging by a thread. And still she didn't understand what was happening. Christopher's phone search had finally loaded. His screen showed corporate headshots, press releases, stock reports. His hands were trembling so badly he could barely hold the device. Victoria, Christopher whispered urgently, you need to see this. But Victoria was laser-focused on Marcus, still believing she could control the situation. Sir, whoever you think you are, this is my hotel. I make the decisions here. That's when Marcus Davidson opened his black leather portfolio completely. The gold lettering was now visible to everyone. Grandview Hospitality Group, Board of Directors. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was the business card he pulled out. Clean white cardstock, elegant black lettering, and 5 words that would change everything. Marcus Davidson, Chief Executive Officer. The lobby erupted. Oh my God! Jasmine screamed into her phone. Y'all, he's the CEO, the actual CEO. Her live stream exploded. Viewer count. 25,000. 30,000. 35,000. Comments flying by like bullets. He owns the whole company. Victoria just discriminated against her own boss. This is the most epic plot twist ever. She's so fired. Black excellence. Victoria's face went through every stage of human emotion in 3 seconds. Confusion. Recognition. Horror. Absolute terror. Mr. Davidson, she stammered. That's impossible. Marcus held up his phone, still connected to Sarah Chin. Sarah, please confirm my identity for Ms. Sterling. Of course, sir. This is Marcus Davidson, Chief Executive Officer of Grandview Hospitality Group, controlling shareholder with 34% ownership, and chairman of the board of directors. He founded this company 12 years ago. The words hit the lobby like a bomb. Founded the company. 34% ownership. Chairman of the board. Victoria wasn't just refusing service to a guest. She was discriminating against the man who owned the hotel, who owned the entire chain, who could fire every single person in that lobby with a phone call. Christopher dropped his phone. The screen cracked against the marble, but nobody noticed. Everyone was staring at Marcus Davidson, seeing him clearly for the first time. The expensive suit wasn't fake. It was custom-tailored. The leather briefcase wasn't a knockoff. It was Italian, probably worth more than most people's cars. The calm confidence wasn't arrogance. It was the quiet power of a man who'd built an empire from nothing. Daniel Foster, 25 years in security, had seen enough corporate executives to recognize the real deal. He stepped forward and did something that surprised everyone. He removed his security cap. Mr. Davidson, sir. I apologize for this situation. This isn't how Grandview employees should behave. It was a gesture of respect, professional acknowledgement, and it sent a clear message to everyone watching. Daniel Foster recognized authority when he saw it. Ryan Chin, the younger security guard, followed Daniel's lead. Cap off, head down. Sir, I'm sorry. But Victoria was still in shock. This can't be real. You're black. Yes, I am, Marcus finished calmly. I'm also the person who signs your paychecks. The person who built this company from a single motel in Detroit into an $847 million hospitality empire. Jasmine's stream hit 40,000 viewers. She was practically hyperventilating with excitement. Y'all, this is the best real-life story I've ever witnessed. The CEO of the whole company. The comments were insane. From discrimination to devastation. She didn't know she was refusing her own boss. Black billionaire energy. Victoria's LinkedIn about to say unemployed. This is better than any movie. Marcus looked at his watch. The board meeting started 60 seconds ago. They're wondering where I am. He pulled up a contact on his phone and hit speaker. The call connected immediately. Good afternoon, Mr. Davidson. We're ready to begin when you are. It was another voice of authority, respectful, professional, clearly addressing someone they knew was in charge. Thank you, Jennifer. I'm dealing with a situation that requires immediate board attention. We have a Code Red discrimination incident at the Grandview Palace location. Code Red. Corporate crisis management. The kind of thing that made stock prices drop and lawyers wake up in the middle of the night. Sir, should we dispatch the crisis team? Already in motion. What I need now is immediate termination protocols for management-level discrimination violations. The lobby was dead silent, except for the sound of phones recording and Jasmine's breathless commentary. Victoria found her voice, but it came out as a whisper. Mr. Davidson, please. There's been a misunderstanding. Marcus looked at her with something between disappointment and pity. Ms. Sterling, there was no misunderstanding. You saw a black man in your lobby and immediately assumed he didn't belong here. You refused him service. You humiliated him publicly. You called security to remove him. Every word was precise, factual, devastating. You did all of this while being filmed by thousands of witnesses in 2025, in a company that I built specifically to provide excellent service to everyone regardless of race, background, or appearance. Rebecca was crying now, actual tears streaming down her face. She knew her career was over. Christopher was hyperventilating. His Google search had revealed everything. Marcus Davidson, 45, self-made billionaire, civil rights advocate, youngest black CEO to build a hospitality empire. But sir, Victoria tried desperately, we have protocols, standards. Whose protocols? Marcus's voice carried quiet fury. I wrote the employee handbook. I created the corporate culture. I established the values that you just violated in the most public way possible. He opened his portfolio and pulled out another document. The employee handbook, Grandview Hospitality Group's official policies. Page 12, he said calmly. Zero tolerance discrimination policy. One strike termination for management-level employees. No exceptions. Victoria's legs were shaking. She grabbed the marble counter to keep from falling. Jasmine's viewer count hit 45,000. Local news stations were picking up the story in real time. #GrandVideo was trending nationally. Mr. Davidson, Victoria pleaded. I have a family, a mortgage. I've worked here for 8 years. And in 8 years, you never learned the most basic principle of hospitality. Treat every guest with dignity and respect. The disappointment in his voice was worse than anger. This wasn't revenge. This was justice. Marcus's phone rang. Sarah Chin calling back. Sir, the crisis team is 2 minutes out. Legal wants to know about media strategy. Full transparency, Marcus said clearly. We take responsibility for this failure in training and leadership. We implement immediate reforms, and we ensure it never happens again. He looked directly at Jasmine's phone camera. To everyone watching this, what happened here today is unacceptable. As the CEO of Grandview Hospitality Group, I take full responsibility for creating an environment where this discrimination was possible. The lobby was completely silent. 45,000 people hanging on every word. This company was built on the principle that everyone deserves excellent service and basic human dignity. Today, my own employees violated those principles. That ends now. Victoria was sobbing openly. Please, Mr. Davidson. I'll do anything. Sensitivity training, community service, anything. Marcus looked at her with something that might have been compassion. Ms. Sterling, this isn't about punishment. This is about accountability and the consequences of choice. He turned to address the entire lobby. To my employees watching, this is who I am. This is who I've always been. If you can't serve all guests with equal respect and dignity, you can't work for Grand View. The words carried absolute authority. Final judgment. Jasmine's stream hit 50,000 viewers. The story was going viral in real time. Major news networks were calling her phone. But there was still one more shock coming. Marcus pulled out his phone and opened a news article. Today's business section, a headline that would make everything even more dramatic. Grand View Hospitality Group announces largest acquisition in company history. Today was supposed to be about celebration, Marcus said quietly. We just acquired our biggest competitor. $3 billion deal, 23,000 new jobs, the largest expansion in our company's history. The magnitude of what Victoria had done was becoming clear. She hadn't just discriminated against a guest. She discriminated against the CEO on the day of his company's biggest triumph. The day he was supposed to be celebrating the achievement of a lifetime. Instead, he was dealing with discrimination in his own hotel. The irony was devastating. Mr. Davidson, Daniel Foster said quietly, what do you need from us? It was a moment of respect between professionals, a recognition of authority and a request for guidance. Marcus looked around the lobby at the crowd of witnesses, at the phones recording everything, at the employees who'd just learned a lesson they'd never forget. What I need, he said calmly, is for everyone to understand that this moment represents a choice. We can either be a company that tolerates discrimination, or we can be a company that stands for something better. The choice was clear. The consequences were about to begin. The glass doors of the Grand View Palace Hotel burst open as the crisis management team arrived. 3 people in dark suits moved with military precision. They were corporate lawyers, HR executives, and a media specialist who had handled disasters for Fortune 500 companies. Leading them was Sarah Chin. She was in her 50s, with steel gray hair and the kind of presence that came from years of climbing ladders in rooms full of men who underestimated her. One look at the lobby and she understood the scale of what was happening. Mr. Davidson, she said firmly, status report. Systematic racial discrimination by management staff, Marcus replied. 53,000 witnesses and counting. National media attention. Stock price impact pending. Sarah's tablet displayed real-time data. Grand View Hospitality Group stock, current price $127.45 per share. Pre-market decline, 2.3%. Trading volume, 340% above average. Social media mentions, 847,000 in the past hour. Legal exposure, she said. Federal discrimination lawsuit potential between $500,000 and $2.3 million, Marcus replied. Title VII violations. Class action risk if pattern confirmed. State civil rights violations could add $200,000 per incident. Punitive damages are unlimited in discrimination cases. Crisis level? Sarah asked. Code Red Plus, Marcus said. Public termination required. Policy overhaul. Full transparency protocol. Victoria was listening to every word, her face pale. These weren't just corporate buzzwords. This was her life unraveling in real time. Mr. Davidson, she said nervously, surely we can handle this internally. Sarah turned toward her. When a corporate lawyer looked at you like that, you knew your career was finished. Ms. Sterling, I'm Sarah Chun, Senior Vice President of Legal Affairs. You are under investigation for violations of federal civil rights law, corporate discrimination policy, and basic human decency. Her words carried the weight of legal authority. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used in termination proceedings. You have the right to union representation if applicable. Do you understand these rights? It was like being read Miranda rights, but for your career. Christopher started breathing fast. This can't be happening. This can't be real. Mr. Reynolds, Sarah continued, you are also under investigation for enabling and participating in discriminatory practices. Your employment status is under immediate review. Rebecca began to cry. She hadn't been named yet, but she knew what was coming. Jasmine's live stream had exploded past 65,000 viewers. The comments were wild. Corporate lawyers in the building. They're getting Miranda rights for their jobs. This is better than Law and Order. Real consequences in real time. Justice being served live. Marcus pulled up the Grandview employee database. Ms. Chun, current employment statistics, please. Grandview Hospitality Group employs 23,847 people across 127 properties in 34 states, Sarah said. Annual payroll, $1.2 billion. Annual revenue, $847 million with 12% year-over-year growth. She continued, zero-tolerance discrimination policy applies to all employees. Management-level violations result in immediate termination. No exceptions. No appeals. Policy established by CEO directive in 2019 after a civil rights audit. Victoria was trembling. I wrote that policy. I trained people on it. Then you know exactly what you violated, Marcus said quietly. Sarah pulled out an official letter on company stationery. Ms. Victoria Sterling, by the authority of the Board of Directors of Grandview Hospitality Group, you are terminated for cause, effective immediately. The words echoed through the marble lobby. Reason for termination, willful violation of federal civil rights law and company discrimination policy. Termination benefits, none. Severance package, none. Reference letter, none. Victoria sank into a chair. 8 years of her life disappeared in seconds. Your corporate access is revoked. Your keycard is deactivated. Security will escort you out in 5 minutes. Sarah turned to Christopher. Mr. Reynolds, you are suspended without pay pending full investigation. Minimum 30 days. Possible outcomes include mandatory retraining or termination. Christopher was already searching for employment lawyers on his cracked phone. Ms. Rebecca Martinez, you are written up for discriminatory conduct and placed on immediate probation. You must complete bias training within 72 hours. Failure to complete training will result in automatic termination. The speed of justice was shocking. Corporate accountability was happening in real time. Mr. Daniel Foster, Sarah said next, you demonstrated professionalism under difficult circumstances. A commendation letter will be added to your file. Effective today, you are promoted to head of security. Salary increase, $15,000 annually. The crowd gasped. Doing the right thing was being rewarded. Mr. Ryan Chun, mandatory sensitivity training required. Performance review in 30 days. Jasmine's voice trembled with excitement. They're firing the bad guys and promoting the good ones. This is like a movie where justice actually happens. Her viewer count passed 75,000. Hashtags like Grandview Justice, Black Excellence, and Corporate Accountability were trending nationwide. Marcus tapped on his tablet. Effective immediately, Grandview Hospitality Group will implement the following systemic changes. Everyone in the lobby leaned forward. History was unfolding right before their eyes. First, mandatory bias training for all 23,847 employees. 8-hour comprehensive program, quarterly refresher courses, performance reviews tied to inclusion metrics. Sarah was typing notes rapidly. Implementation timeline, 90 days for initial rollout. No exceptions. Second, anonymous reporting system. The Grandview Equity app launches within 72 hours. Direct escalation to the CEO office for any discrimination complaints. Real accountability. Real oversight. Third, diverse hiring mandate. 40% of management positions must be filled by underrepresented groups within 24 months. No quotas, merit-based hiring with expanded candidate pools. Victoria looked up from her chair. That's impossible. We don't have the infrastructure. We do now, Marcus said firmly. Budget allocation. $50 million annually for diversity and inclusion initiatives. The number hit like a thunderbolt. $50 million. Real money, real commitment. Fourth, Community Partnership Fund. $2 million annually to civil rights organizations, local NAACP chapters, minority business development programs. Systemic change with real financial backing. Fifth, monthly mystery shopper audits. Third-party testing for discriminatory practices. Results published quarterly. No hiding, full transparency, accountability that couldn't be buried or ignored. Sarah was calculating financial implications on her tablet. Total annual cost for these initiatives? Approximately $67 million, Marcus replied. Cost of discrimination lawsuit? Potentially $500 million plus brand damage. Cost of doing the right thing? Priceless. The math was simple. Justice was cheaper than injustice. Jasmine's stream hit 80,000 viewers. The comments were incredible. $67 million for civil rights. This is how you create real change. Black CEO changing the whole industry. Other companies need to watch this. Real money for real problems. Victoria stood up slowly. Mr. Davidson, I accept full responsibility for my actions. I was wrong, completely wrong. For the first time, she sounded genuinely remorseful. I let my biases cloud my judgment. I embarrassed this company. I embarrassed myself. I'm sorry. Marcus looked at her with something that might have been compassion. Ms. Sterling, I accept your apology, but apologies don't undo discrimination. Actions do. Systemic change does. Making sure this never happens again does. He turned to address the crowd directly. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about punishment. This is about accountability and change. The lobby was completely silent. 80,000 people hanging on every word. Discrimination dies when we stop tolerating it, when we stop making excuses for it, when we create systems that prevent it. Sarah stepped forward. Mr. Davidson, there's one more issue. Stock price is down 3.7% on this incident. Should we issue a public statement? Marcus smiled for the first time all day. Ms. Chun, any company that loses stock value for standing against discrimination deserves to lose that value. Our stock will recover when investors understand we're building something better. It was a moment of moral clarity that would be quoted in business schools for years. The consequences were swift. The changes were real. The justice was immediate. But the story wasn't over yet. 6 months later, the transformation was undeniable. The Grandview Palace Hotel lobby looked exactly the same: marble floors, crystal chandeliers, gold fixtures. But everything else had changed. Behind the concierge desk stood Anthony Peterson, 28, newly promoted from housekeeping supervisor to guest services manager. College graduate, hospitality degree, and most importantly, someone who understood that every guest deserved respect. Good afternoon. Welcome to Grandview Palace. How may I assist you today? His smile was genuine. His service impeccable. The numbers told the story of real change. Grandview Equity App statistics. Downloads: 127,000 across all properties. Incident reports filed: 892. Incidents resolved: 891, 99.9% resolution rate. Average response time: 2.3 hours. Employee satisfaction with reporting system: 94%. Diversity training results. Employees trained: 23,847, 100% completion. Management training hours: 8 hours initial, 2 hours quarterly. Post-training bias incident reports: down 89%. Customer satisfaction scores: up 34% across all demographics. Employee retention in diverse communities: up 67%. Financial impact: stock price recovery: $127.45 to $142.18, up 11.5%. Customer base diversity: plus 45% African American guests, plus 38% Latino guests. Revenue growth: plus 23% year over year. Corporate reputation score: improved from C+ to A. The transformation wasn't just numbers. It was stories. Stories like Elena Santos, the housekeeping supervisor who'd been promoted to Director of Operations Training. She now traveled to all 127 properties, ensuring every employee understood that dignity wasn't negotiable. Stories like Daniel Foster, whose promotion to head of corporate security came with a mandate: create the most inclusive security protocols in the hospitality industry. Stories like Jasmine Turner, whose live stream had sparked a movement. She'd been offered a full scholarship to journalism school and a paid internship with Grandview's communications team. Her final viewer count that day: 127,000 people who'd witnessed history. But the most important story was happening in boardrooms across America. Industry impact: